A lot of people think parts fail because they're bad parts, but standing behind the parts counter every day, I've learned that most repeat problems don't come from parts that are technically correct, but wrong for how the vehicle is actually used. Things like short trips, heat cycles, stop-and-go traffic completely change how parts wear, how fluids break down, and how long components actually last, even when everything meets spec. Before we talk about the parts, we have to talk about the driving conditions, because that's what changes the stress on every system. Short trips sound easy on a car, but in reality, it's some of the hardest miles that your car ever sees. Short trips means that your engine starts cold. The ECU is running a rich fuel mixture to stabilize combustion, and the engine shuts off before the oil ever reaches normal operating temperatures. And this matters because it can cause fuel dilution, which is when excess fuel slips past the oil rings and gasoline gets into the crankcase. It's going to cause your oil viscosity to drop and your oil film strength to weaken. Now you're looking at increased boundary lubrication and metal contact. And you're also looking at moisture retention. Combustion creates water vapor, and if the oil temperature never gets above 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it never gets hot enough to burn that off. So the moisture stays suspended in the oil. And this is going to lead to acid formation, bearing corrosion, and sludge. And with contaminant accumulation like soot, carbon, and unburned fuel byproducts, your filters are going to load up faster, your additives are going to deplete faster, and your oil life shortens. So short trips don't wear out your engine faster, they wear them out quietly. Next, let's talk about heat cycles, because it's not how hot the part gets, it's how often the part gets hot and cools down. When these parts get cold, then hot, then cold, you're looking at expansion and contraction. This is going to cause metal fatigue. And with metal expanding at different rates, these repeated cycles are going to loosen tolerances and clearances are going to slowly change. Also, heat exposure on rubber items like seals, gaskets, anti-drainback valves. That heat is going to cause the rubber to lose elasticity, harden, and crack, which is going to result in oil drainback, slower pressure buildup, and leaks over time. So remember, peak heat doesn't kill parts, it's the heating and cooling that does. And next is stop-and-go driving. City driving is much harder on parts than highway driving, even if the mileage is the same. With stop-and-go driving, you have constant acceleration, constant braking, limited airflow, and higher than average operating temps. This is all going to cause higher fluid temps, your oil stays higher, your transmission fluid stays higher, and all your brake components stay heat-soaked. All this stress causes your fluids to oxidize faster and break down. Your brake pads can glaze over and your rotors can get hot spots, ultimately resulting in noise, premature wear, and reduced performance. So remember, highway miles are the easy miles, city miles are punishment. So we have three types of parts. Now that you understand driving conditions, your part behavior starts to make sense. First, you got parts that meet spec, and most replacement parts are designed to meet spec, and that's not a bad thing. That means it passed minimum testing, it's designed for average conditions, and it's optimized for cost and compliance. But where they can struggle comes with dealing with heat, contamination, extended services, and repeated stress. They're not really built for that. So meeting spec means it's acceptable, but not necessarily optimal. Next, we got parts that are designed for harsher conditions. And these parts are built with better operating margins because not everybody drives in average conditions. So these are your premium parts. They're made with better material. They have stronger construction and higher tolerances to heat, contamination, and wear. They're not better because they're more expensive. They're more expensive because they're designed to survive those harsher conditions. Some examples of this would be like higher quality filter media, using silicone instead of rubber on like anti-drainback valves or gaskets, and better base oil stocks. Remember, you're buying durability, not branding. And the real problem comes with mismatching the parts with the driving conditions. This is where most repeat failures are going to come from. Many low-quality parts have the correct part number, but they're for the wrong operating environment. Many low-quality products are made this way with cheaper materials and weaker construction. So while it works on paper, it fails in real-world conditions. So remember, the box just knows the engine, not the driver. Now let's talk about how this shows up in real parts that people buy every day. Ceramic pads are great for comfort, but that comfort has limits. Ceramic pads are low dust, quiet, good for daily driving and light to moderate braking. But where they struggle is with heat spikes, heavy vehicles, and aggressive stop-and-go driving. On the other hand, semi-metallic pads trade comfort for heat tolerance. So these are better for handling heat for trucks, towing, and heavier cars. But there is a trade-off because they're going to produce more dust, more noise, and more rotor wear. Now let's talk about why it applies to fluids. First off, shear. It's one of the reasons that oil degrades even when it still looks good. So mechanical stress caused by gears, pumps, RPMs, heat, breaks down the oil molecules, and the viscosity drops over time. This is going to result in thinner oil, a weaker protective film, and increased wear. Shear can turn a 30 weight into a 20 weight without warning. Then oxidation, because heat and oxygen slowly change oil chemistry. Oil reacts with oxygen, causing thickening, sludge, and varnish. That results in restricted flow, stuck rings, and clogged passages. Oxidized oil flows worse, protects worse, and cleans worse. And this is why I asked questions before recommending anything. So you want to identify driving conditions and match parts to the stress level to prevent future failures. We're not upselling, we're preventing comebacks. So remember, parts don't fail randomly. Conditions matter, engineering matters, and the best part is the one that survives your reality. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe. I'm coming out with more videos all the time on more no-nonsense car care. Thanks for watching. See you later.